All right, everybody, you got the management here. Tonight I'm going to be running through all the different symbols on the map, except for the compass, because that's like a whole thing in its own, and I honestly cannot even wrap my head around it yet. So I'm not going to try to explain it. All of these main symbols that are on here, I can't nail anything down to just one thing and be like, oh, that's it, that's the clue. I've been keeping track of what like everybody says and trying not to discount anybody's ideas. Sometimes the unlikely people have the best answers. Let's get started. The first thing that I'm going to talk about is the rocks. You'll see under each of these titles, I have a key. For this one, it's H3. That refers to the grid overlay that also is available on my Gumroad, and there's basically a grid that I have printed out that I overlay on top of my book. There's a whole video on it. You're welcome to use it. It's free. So the rocks in H3, they're originally oriented in this vertical manner. I turned them sideways to see. Are they stones? Are they pebbles? Are they gold nuggets? Nobody knows. And I really don't know or understand the significance of them, considering there are rocks along every step of the way on the trails. Next, we're going to go to the bear. Is it a standing bear? Is it a black bear? Who knows? It's definitely a bear, and some people even say that this little shape here looks like a gooseneck. It took me a while to see it, so there's the neck and the head, and then this little thing, I guess, is supposed to be the eye. And then this section here would be the beak, if you're going to subscribe to that theory. And then the next thing we'll talk about is what I think looks like a split rail fence. It's really, really tiny, so it's really hard to get a good scan in of what this was. But when I see it in my brain, I automatically thought of a split rail fence like this that you would see in a state park. Very common in the Southeast, historically accurate. Maybe that's it. Maybe these are little people walking along a trail. Those are the only two things that I've seen. I haven't even heard any other ideas about what that could be. And then next we have the wildcat, the cougar, the mountain lion, the bobcat, the catamount. And then some people say this is like a person's head. Yikes. So there was some discussion about whether it's a cougar, a mountain lion, a bobcat, a catamount. The catamount is a university mascot for both Western Carolina University and Vermont State University, I believe. The problem with cougar, mountain lion, bobcat is they're not necessarily native to areas on the Appalachian Trail. I don't know how they know where they're supposed to stop and turn around, but I do know we have Florida Panthers here in Florida, and that they go outside of where they're supposed to go too. I don't think they can read the Panther turn around here sign, so I think they just go where they want to since we're ruining their habitat. And then next we have the skier. Someone specifically pointed out that is a downhill skier, maybe even a mogul skier if you see this curved line right here. But what it is not is a cross-country skier. This guy's moving. All right, next up we've got the footprints. These are in the top left corner of the map. There's also like a V shape next to it. Not sure what that's about. Many have said this is for, because it's right next to Car North, that this is for North Carolina, the Tar Heel State. I remember there being specific tales of the Barefoot Sisters on the Appalachian Trail, and they are from Maine. They were a pair of sisters who hiked the Appalachian Trail through hike completely barefoot. Ouch. Next up, the Unknown Polygon. Have no freaking clue what this thing is. The Bob Ross fan in me says that this is a Bob Ross style painting or illustration, and that's like a waterfall with a creek running down. I've gotten everything from the Mount Holly mammoth tooth, which is the Vermont state fossil, to there's a rock slash man's face on the back of the New Hampshire state quarter. Someone even said they saw a bearded man in there. A honeycomb. Is it a coin rubbing? Is it a forest? Is it a trail? Is it rock formations near the Hudson River? Is it a rock quarry? This one really stumps me. I am ultimately the most annoyed by this butterfly. I did think, oh, wait, is it a butterfly or is it a moth? It's definitely a butterfly. These little antenna things here have nodes on the end, which makes it a butterfly. But what's annoying me is not being able to identify a species that matches this pattern, which makes me think that that's not necessarily important because while the coloring does somewhat resemble what a monarch would have, monarchs would not have these little dingly-doos, whatever you want to call them, here at the bottom. That's common to swallowtails, but I have not found a swallowtail that has this print pattern. Some say monarch, some say swallowtail. I've even heard Arctic katydid butterfly, none of which I can get to line up both with the patterns and the markings. So this might be a fake butterfly. Next up, we have the dog. The arrow 2 is what I like to call it. And the tree in the magnifying glass. Who knows? This could be a magnifying glass. It could tie in to the coin, and I have no freaking clue how the coins work, but somehow tie in with the coin. What I do find interesting is this does come to a point down here like this, and it's kind of skewed, whereas normally the part that's the closest to you would be fatter and the part that's furthest away would be narrower. This is in reverse. So I'm not convinced that's a handle, but it could be something else. Also, you see the words look around here and go fetch here. I know that there's a group of people who don't think it says go fetch. I was also on the fence about this originally, but I looked at a high resolution image on the front of the book cover and it's very clearly go fetch on that. And now just trying to figure out what it means. Then we have the dog, which honestly, I think it looks like a Springer Spaniel. I know a lot about dogs. I've done some comparisons. Pretty spot on to me. What that means, not sure. Springer Mountain, that seems to be the direct correlation that everybody's drawing to. And then also, we have the tree inside the magnifying glass. Some people say it looks like there's an egg, and there's a recurring theme of eggs throughout the book. Some people say that the branches spell something out. I haven't been able to make that out. Obviously, a lot going on in this one small section of the map to look at. Speaking of which, has anybody gone down a rabbit hole about a speck or a spot on their map and then realized that it's just dirty shit on their computer screen? That's never happened to me. Next, we have the blue smoke. Is it an ink droplet in water? Is it a nose? I heard somebody reference it as a kid's toy. All I know is it has a blue tint to it in the light. Not really sure why. Next up, we have the bald man. Is it a flat top? Is it a scalp? Is it referring to balds as you see in the mountains? Hard to say. Can't narrow anything down, just like every other symbol on this map. Next, we have what I like to call feather 1, which is the squiggly feather. Is it a quill? Is it a hawk feather? I seem to think that there is a logo that has a feather just like this in it, but I cannot find it anywhere. So if you know which logo I'm talking about, please reach out, let me know, because I feel like I'm going insane. Then there is this mystery symbol, which looks like it is perfectly cut in half, but mirrored, it doesn't look like anything. Flipped every which way, it doesn't look like anything. The only thing I've heard is it could be an old-timey tree sap spout. I have heard that it's an arm holding a gun. I'm not getting that vibe at all. Then we have the basket of fruit. Is it apples, cherries, peaches, tomatoes? Who knows? But it does have this white, very white stripe across the rim. These baskets are referred to as bushels and pecks traditionally, and pecks are like a part of a bushel. What's interesting to me is one of these has been rejected. What's up with this bad apple, this ugly duckling? What's the significance of that? And then we have the scroll, which is it a scroll? Some people have said it looks like a fabric bolt. Others have said it looks like a joint or a cigarette. Maybe it's a map. I'm going to add that one in. Enter map. And then finally we come to feather 2, the ugly feather, which I've got it oriented both ways here. It's got some pretty frayed edges and intricate details that zooming in both on the book and on the ebook, I've not really been able to pull anything out of it. Some people have also said it's a wheat sprig and not a feather. I don't know how you would identify one versus the other when the quality of the image is so poor. All right, that's a wrap on that. If you want to get in contact with me, all my info is below. Don't forget to hit subscribe. Check out my Gumroad at themanagement.gumroad.com for helpful hints and tricks.